Thank you. A friend of mine posted this picture on Twitter a while back and claiming this is MEV, or asking, is this MEV? And sure enough, when you start working on the field, everything looks like MEV, right? I have a background in physics, so my first approach was like, okay, we have to formalize this thing, right? MEV, in the original paper that introduced the concept, by the way, MEV stands for Maximal Extractable Value, formerly Minor Extractable Value. So in the original paper where they define this, they don't provide a formal definition. There's a follow-up paper by some of the same authors that does, but I took issue with some aspects there. So I came up with my own definition. I won't walk you through this, but like just to know that there's a minimum in the maximal extractable value. Hopefully this is a testament to my confusion. So if you heard about the term and you feel confused by it, like you're not alone here. It's like a really hairy thing. These are some posts I wrote at the time on quantifying and formalizing and why it's difficult. After I did this work, I took a step back and tried to figure out where there's like at least some colloquial agreement on what MEV is. And it's pretty divided. Here's like one poll at the time that someone made where block rewards are a form of MEV, and as you see, it's like 50-50 in the ecosystem. So it's really, there's not even consensus on what MEV is. I ended up giving a talk at DevCon titled "This is not MEV," trying to approach like the subject from outside, right? Bounding the space, what's not MEV, maybe we can get to some more clarity there. So anyway, all of this said, there is like a kernel of agreement on what MEV is, right? You go to two exchanges, you see different prices, you think, okay, I buy in one, I sell in the other, right? This is simple arbitrage. This is like a canonical example of MEV. Everybody would agree that this is MEV. And there's other things like this, right? Like front running, placing a trade in front of a user's trade, back running, same but after, sandwiching, doing both, liquidations. Again, there's a few of like MEV forms that everybody would agree that's MEV. So it's a core of intuition that's shared. And yeah, it's a concept that's around. Nobody would deny its existence. I put a star there because many people would say that their own chain doesn't have MEV, but MEV always finds a way to crawl back in. Most likely they're wrong is the outcome there. So yeah, one kind of definition around that people use is that MEV is value extractable by block proposers by reordering, inserting, or censoring transactions. I like to insert a couple more notions there. Value permissionlessly extractable by a monopolistic proposer. The permissionless part is important to me. It's value that anybody can pick up. It's just lying around on blockchains. And the monopolistic aspect is also very interesting. It encompasses for a particular case of, say you have an airdrop that you have to claim at a certain block height and it would expire. So then the proposer of that block could extort you to pay all of the value you would get from the airdrop, essentially, threatening to not include your transaction, right? So this extortion is only possible, that's a form of MEV, and it's only possible because of the monopolistic aspect of the proposer rights, right? So again, these are not exhaustive definitions. You're welcome, if you have your own, please come talk to me. Welcome to come up with a better one, right? Okay, why do we talk about MEV? MEV is something that's out there, it's part of a system, so why talk about it? Why is it important? Well, MEV can have some negative consequences. One is it affects users, it can affect new users negatively. For instance, in the battle for MEV extraction, certain bots can bloat the chain, increase gas prices, etc. That's bad for end users. One other thing that can happen is like reorgs. So that's when the chain goes backwards and like, it becomes unstable. So these are all negative consequences that can happen if like the MEV extraction activities are happening in a kind of a nefarious way. One other thing that perhaps even more critical here is that MEV can be a centralizing force, right? And this is very bad because like at the core of what we're doing is decentralization. We don't want to replicate the old system. We want to build a new thing that's decentralized. So what happens with MEV is there's kind of a super linearity in wealth, in how wealth operates. So what you have now means that you will have more in the future, right? This is because of how sophisticated, like MEV extraction is sophisticated, so people that have more resources are at an advantage in MEV extraction. So this creates like a flywheel, and this like ends up with like all the network in control of a single entity, and that's of course bad, right? So yeah, so what to do about this is the big question. So Flashbots is a research and development organization. We're distributed a bit all over the place. We're about 50 people, and we try to sort of mitigate the negative externalities of MEV extraction and also curtail these centralizing effects of the forces of MEV. That's what we do. We have like a lot of products. We do research, we do data. So this is just a list. I won't walk you through it. Just quickly, Flashbots Protect is a way for users to be protected from front running. So if you use Protect to send your transactions, you don't get front run. MEV Boost, we need to separate the proposers and the builders. PBS, if you heard of that, proposer builder separation, so that these centralizing forces do not operate at the validator level, but rather at the builder level. So to protect the core layer of the network, which is validators. The next step, we're working on the Pareto builder, which is an attempt to decentralize the builder now. There's a few centralized builders on Ethereum that make most blocks, so Pareto builder is the next step. And the list goes on. Welcome to check our site. Be sure to click around. There's many hidden, many Easter eggs there. So, okay, let's talk about regulation and policy a little bit. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert on these matters. Maybe you all know more than me, but just like a couple of aspects that I think are interesting and why MEV policy is important. One thing is good MEV and bad MEV. Some people are tempted to classify MEV in two buckets, right? This is good MEV, this is bad MEV. Well, this is a very thorny question. This graph here represents Bryce paradox from game theory, if you heard of that. It's a paradox where if you add a road to a road network, you can actually make the network less efficient. So this something happens in MEV, similar math, where a sandwich which is like a stereotypical bad MEV, can actually be good for a user. So again, even the most pernicious form of MEV can actually turn out to be a good thing for users. So it's again, it's a subtle thing. So not as easy as say this is good or this is bad. Another one, the DOJ recently brought an injunction against some hackers that exploited a bot that sandwiched users. And yeah, they drew a line here, right? The hackers exploited is who they brought the injunction to, but the bot that sandwich users is okay in their eyes, right? So one might argue, well, one could have put the boundary in different places, right? One could say, okay, actually sandwiching of users is bad, like caveat what I told you about like Bryce paradox, right? The sandwiching is generally bad for users, so yeah, one could say that that's a bad part and that's what we should go after. Or one could say, well, the hackers actually just like used open source code, and who is there to say you shouldn't use it in this way? It's like they're also playing the MEV game, or right? So and like the DOJ chose one boundary, but it's like a subtle question of where the boundary should be, and yeah, I think it's a very interesting conversation. So where are we now? In the EU, MEV is not yet regulated. The ESMA and the EBA are writing a report on what wasn't covered by MiCA, the current crypto regulation, and MEV is like expected to be a part of that. In the US, MEV is not regulated, maybe not surprised. So anyway, I will finish with just a list of, again, more aspects where I think MEV regulation policy is an interesting topic, more as a kickstarter of a conversation. Welcome to come talk to me. So one is like MEV is a feature of distributed systems, right? So stateful distributed systems is just there. So yeah, that's how do we deal with it is the question more than like anything else. MEV extraction can bring efficiency to the systems. This is very important to keep in mind. It's not like a bad thing per se. With proposer builder separation, validators are agnostic to the building process. Right now, it's like actually builders who decide what goes in blocks. One other thing is that the numbers are often misrepresented. What's extractable is more than what's extracted, which is in turn more than what's like the harm that's done. So when you hear like an astronomical number, maybe they're talking about the extractable and not the actual harm. So it's important to be very precise in what we mean here. Then is a taxonomy the right approach? Is classifying the MEVs in different kinds like the way to go? Maybe, maybe not. Like there's some stable categories, again, as liquidations, arbitrage, but there's always new forms of MEV appearing. So yeah, maybe there's other ways to think about this. To what extent we should count on the industry to self-regulate? We're trying to do the right thing at Flashbots. Is that enough? One other thing is memetics, right? We use terms like front running, which carry a lot of weight from TradFi. So maybe we want to be careful with that, etc. So anyway, at least it's more like bring your own regulatory question. Let's chat about it. Thank you, Paul, for having me. Thank you all. I'm new in town, so I'm looking for new friends. So please come talk to me.